Welcome to Virginia Insider. I'm your host, April Woodard, and today we are talking to a man who has done everything from acting to producing to directing to doing documentaries to being a speaker to being a PhD. He knows everything. There's nothing that I can think of that he hasn't done, and we're so blessed to have him here with us today. Hampton Roads' own Tim Reid. Hey, Tim.
Hello there.
I feel like
How
the
are you,
applause.
April?
We should have the applause. Thank you so much for sitting
you.
down with us today.
My pleasure.
There's so much that I want to explore. You just came back from Africa.
Yes.
And you go there frequently. So tell me about what you're doing and what stories are you putting on film right now?
Well, I've been going to Africa, believe it or not, since 1975.
Wow.
My first trip to Africa was to, of all places, South Africa. And it in my one-man show, I'm going to talk about it because I had some very unusual events. I got arrested. Actually, I have been arrested twice in South Africa.
Wow.
The first time was in 75. Second time was in 81. But I had to go the first time as an honorary white. That was the only way I was able to get in. They didn't allow.
What does an honorary white
Just as it sounds.
look like?
Me.
Oh.
And Arthur Ashe. It was actually created for Arthur Ashe.
An honorary white.
It was against apartheid law for any black person to either enter or exit South Africa.
Wow.
It wasn't a place that black people would go, like to go to Ghana for vacation. No, there was no vacationing there. And so that experience was my eye-opener to going to and all the things that happened. I was there for 6 weeks. And I was there when even Arthur Ashe was there. I saw him one day in Joburg. And that started my trip. I was fascinated by the experience, and I'll talk about it in my women's show. And something that happened here at the university put the bug in me for traveling.
You're talking about Norfolk State.
Yeah, at Norfolk State. I was in art appreciation, and we were doing what most kids do in the summertime when you have to take a class in the summer. We would sleep. And in the dark, he's showing slides of the great artwork.
Perfect time to sleep.
Yeah. And one morning, because it was a morning class, I think it was like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And I had to work that night till 1 in the morning. So we're asleep, and he lifted those blinds, those flapper blinds, and it was like a gun had gone off in class, and we all woke up. And he was standing, he let the light was coming through this curtain. He had, we didn't have air conditioning when I was there,
Oh, wow.
And so he said, "I'll dare you to sleep." He was so, Chapman, I think his name was, a wonderful man. He said, "I'll dare you. Do you understand what I'm showing you?" And he was really irate. He said, "I'm showing you Venus de Milo. I'm showing you all these wonderful Vermeer, from all these, and you have the audacity to sleep? Listen." And he started talking about art and why it was important. It was really, these people were not just artists. They were media moguls of their day, and what it took to get that piece of art. And I was just sitting there now, all of our eyes are that big.
Right.
And he said, "I'll guarantee you," he said, you can see yourself. If you dream, if you look at these arts and dream of wanting to see it, your dreams will take you to the real thing."
Wow.
And every time I've stood in front of Mona Lisa, the Night Watch, these great art pieces all over the world, Van Gogh, whatever it was, I hear his voice, and my dreams have taken me. I've seen just about I was just in Egypt in November, and the grand opening of the new incredible Egyptian museum, where it's just massive. It's the size of a football field, 2 football fields, as a matter of fact, right there by the pyramids. And I'm walking through looking at this stuff that I'd seen in books.
Wow.
And I went, he was right. Every time I go there, I said, he was right.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
So your professor at Norfolk State told you that you could dream and you could live the dream.
Not could dream, you have to dream.
You have to dream, and you could live that dream.
The dream, your dreams will take you. Today I define it as the grace of God through the universe. It's like God created, because he knew he was going to be busy.
Right.
He created this sort of universal consciousness, and angels, or whatever you want to call them, they provide you with there is no good or bad to them. There is no, you say, "I want a car." and I've seen this happen. And somebody, neighbor you was retiring and hand you their beat up car, and you go, no, I wanted a Cadillac.
Right. You
No,
better be specific.
Be specific. As a matter of fact, once you say you want something, go visit it in the storeroom, or go look at that couch. Go look at where you go. Travel to the place you want to be and spend your life.
Wow.
Go see these things, because your subconscious and the universe will put you there.
Well, let me ask you this. So somebody like me who wanted to be on TV since Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I wanted to be on TV like you.
Well, you didn't say that.
Well, okay, so I wasn't specific enough?
Yes.
But you said
It's
go to
that simple.
Hollywood, and I did go to Hollywood, and I tried to get my dad to get a job out there, but they didn't have any
and
HBCUs there.
But now, you see what you just said?
What?
You said, I tried to get my dad out there.
Well, I was 15.
So
So you're saying
my grandmother had what? I don't know how many kids at 13. So don't give me that.
Okay.
You
So
have to be specific.
what is the lesson for the students today, as Tim Reid and as April, who is teaching the next generation of dreamers? How should I interpret that message for them so that they'll listen to it? Because you listen. Some
Oh,
people
yeah.
still wouldn't listen, even if the blinds went up and it was loud and all of that.
I had no choice. I was either there or, when I was a teenager running through the streets of 757 Norfolk, Church Street, and all those places, I was probably picked to be, in my life, in prison. I mean, I was, as they said back then, I was a hoodlum, and with a bunch of other hoodlums. It wasn't a hoodlum because I wanted to be, because there was nothing else going on for me at that age. 10, 12, we were always in trouble. We were always doing things that instinctively we knew that was wrong. We were getting attention. Unlike Africa, where young people in rites of passage can go out and chase a lion, we were locked into Color Town. We didn't have this kind of expanse to go and test yourself.
Right.
And so gang activity was the most thing available to us.
Right,
We
right.
couldn't come uptown. We couldn't go, even at that time in the military, they didn't allow everybody in the military during those days. So we would come together and test each other doing stupid things. And at some point, you have to make a decision. Is that me?
Right.
Who am I? And it was made for me when someone put a gun to my head. And for this day, I still don't know why they didn't pull the trigger. I just to this day, I go, wow, I wonder why. Anyway, he didn't.
My goodness.
And I walked away, and it was at that moment, before I broke off running home, that I realized this ain't me. I got to get out of this.
Yeah.
And I began to change my life in terms of those kind. I stepped away from some of the people, and things began to happen. Again, the universe.
Well, that's why. That's why you had favor and you had grace. And,
Yeah.
you're speaking to a preacher's wife, so you know how
Yes.
I'm going to
No.
analyze it.
Yeah.
But you had favor in order to do the rest of the things that you were supposed to do.
Well,
Because
but it
you
was one at
had-
a time.
Right.
It's a process.
I got you.
I was joking
you.
your students a few minutes ago. I said my definition of millennials now. I'm trying to get favor with millennials, but we're having a love-hate relationship right now. And the reason is, when I was working as an artist in resident at Morgan, I did it for 3 years, and I had to quit because they were going to make me want to punch them in the mouth or something. And so I used to say, first of all, the definition at that time for me of a millennial was, I want, therefore I am. And between that,
Right.
you
That
have a
sense
lot
of
of work to do.
entitlement. Yeah.
You have work to do. It's called process. And so you need to gather the experiences and the things and the dreams that you need to have in order to become I am. It's in the Bible.
Right.
It says, I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he doesn't stop there. If you want to be I am, you have to go through the process.
Right.
You have to become. You have to be a part. You have to study. And young people of that group has taken that for granted. And it's an eye-opener when it doesn't work. Luckily, they have more money than any other generation moving around them. But the generation that I think has the toughest lesson, not lesson, but the toughest thing to move forward on is the Z generation. It's up to the Z generation to either tear down what we're now using as a system or begin to rebuild and introduce the next system.
Right.
And the alphas are going to be the soldiers. And if we don't understand and give them something, give them some hope, give them things to dream of, give them the kind of interaction. Right now, they're all getting it from what is called artificial. You know, the dark force don't have to lie.
Right.
Matter of fact, they seldom lie, the dark force. They tell you right up front, I'm going to do this. What does the president? I'm going to put tariff. They always tell you up front. It's like, I didn't know. Excuse me. He said this. So why are you shocked? Why are you all of a sudden, oh my God, I didn't think he was doing, what do you think he was thinking?
Yeah.
And so it says artificial. Doesn't mean bad. Remember, the universe doesn't decide good or bad. So as a person with the job for survival to have to change and introduce a new system, you better be about it.
Right. So how you get about it?
Same way.
How you be about it, as the students would say.
As I have something on social media with this group, Ancestral.
Yeah, I have to ask you about that because it says AI. I don't know if you can see it, but if you look closely, it says.
I'm gonna explain you why and the deal. But I'm looking at what I have my eye on the Z generation because my granddaughter is one. And I'm looking at what they like and what they don't like. I'm trying to see, as the instructors at Norfolk State would do, what is this kid about? Who are you? Remember they used to ask you, what you gonna be?
Right. Yeah.
You know? And so I'm looking at them and I noticed that they, including millennials, brought back vinyl records.
Yeah.
And you know why? They wanted to hear what sound was before they compressed it with MP3 files. Because the music that they're hearing, they've never heard a violin unless they go to a natural concert.
Right.
The sound of a violin, the sound of a guitar being recorded, what you're hearing now, you're only getting 60% because it's been compressed.
Wow.
All music.
Yeah.
Whether it's on Spotify, it doesn't matter. It's all been compressed. So when you put on a vinyl record and you hear not only the strumming of the sound or frequency, but the finger moving across you go back and pull out some LPs and you go, ooh, there's a sound. The frequency is so important. And so they're going back to vinyl. Then I've said, all right, who are their heroes from the past? You know who the heroes are? James Baldwin.
Yeah, you're seeing him all over the place.
Nina Simone.
Yeah.
Maria McKeever from South Africa. Stokely Carmichael is coming back.
Yeah.
And you go,
well,
why?
do you think it's because they're finally getting the truth about these individuals? Okay.
It's presentation.
I feel like they're finally getting, because, you know, when I grew up, you know, anything with the Panthers, those people were radical and, oh my goodness, you know.
But you're defining it the way the press would define it.
Right.
The young people are seeing what those people are. You know what they are? Defiant.
Yeah.
That's what's encouraging them. That's what they look and they go, wait a minute. This defiance, not anger, not hatred, not we're going to burn down the city. No. The defiance that stands for what they believe.
Yeah.
We don't see that in politics today. We see people following along because the leader at the top of the party says this, and they need that money to get elected the next term.
Right.
So there's no defiance in these politics. There's anger.
Right. There's definitely that.
Oh, a lot of anger.
But even in the classroom, you know, teaching at HBCUs for the last almost 10 years now, you'd be surprised how little defiance there is. People are just falling in. They're afraid to say anything. They're afraid to,
the teachers, the faculty.
Yeah.
So
and unfortunately, I'm not from that thread. You know my daddy. So I tend to go in a different direction, you know, and based on my conscience and based on prayer and all of that, I have a different makeup than others. But I also want to encourage my students to be defiant. Don't always take it as it is, as you see it on the paper. You know, ask questions and inquire and find out if there's more. And don't just go to social media to find, you know, the information. You got to go to 3 or 4, 5 or 6 different locations to figure out if it's fact or true.
That's where the dreaming comes in and that's where the searching the ancestral instincts. The way I believe spiritually that the ancestors speak to me is not they speak to me. The lessons that they have given me when they were walking the earth now feed my instincts.
Right.
Because most of the decisions I make I have to think about them. And so what does that mean to me? What do I personally feel? And not what's good for how many followers I get,
Right.
but am I saying, like the occupations of people on social media are also as false, as artificial as the system itself. We started out was people who be influencers, people who were in the business slightly, maybe didn't make it, but now they're telling other people how to get in the business. Then it went on to where it is now. Everybody's a content creator. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And they're making money, by the way. What is a content creator? What experiences? I get a lot of people, unknown people, just come on and they say, we want to increase your followers.
Right. Yeah.
We can get you for X number of dollars, 10,000, 20,000. And I do something that I was taught in this community back when I was a young kid, 8, 9 years old. And the old timers used to say, if you you're going to see a doctor, look at the doctor. Do they look healthy? If the doctor doesn't look healthy, get the hell out of there.
Right. Okay. So you do the same thing with influencers or content creators.
Yeah. I go to their site, and if they only got 40,000 influencers, why would I pay them 10,000 to get another 10,000?
Right. Right.
And yet they're getting away because they're talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk.
Right.
And I think that's where we are now. People are talking the talk, and they got the professional approach, and everybody's got what we're doing. I mean, they don't have any experience like you do in the business. They're doing it at home, and they're talking, and they're just spreading and increasing the influence of artificial intelligence.
Okay, now to the hat. Your hat says AI. Now
AI.
you're going to bring it around and tell us what that stands for.
It comes from what I have learned. I had the instinct for it. I was very angry at something that had been posted. I called them cultural hijackers. Young white kid was talking about black history, and they got the voice now. There's the same voice that's on all the stuff that AI puts out. And I know that voice. And they don't even have the respect to use a black voice.
Right, right.
It's this Englishman, and it sounds like Edinburgh or somebody, and they're telling our history. I'm going, these are cultural hijackers. They're shaping our history in their image of feeling and emotion. And I don't like this. I said, what can I do? I love history from back at Norfolk State when I first had my real exposure to real history. And I'm like, oh man, what can I do to getting on? And it says artificial. And all of a sudden, I realized that most of my life decisions have been made based on instinct. And some have led me wrong. But again, as I said, the ancestral guidance doesn't make a decision whether it's right or wrong.
Right.
It makes a decision upon your dream power, upon your actions. There are a lot of faithers who pray every day and give little action to the prayer. You got to move toward the target.
Right.
If you're not moving toward the target, what's the point of praying? You think target gonna come to you? It don't work that way.
Yeah, you got to work.
You got to work. So I said, what could it be? And I thought, well, I believe in my ancestral intelligence, my instincts. That's what's led me to wherever I've ever gone. And I thought about it. I said, oh, ancestral intelligence. And it clicked, AI. I said, now how can I make that more pleasing to the ancestors? And you see the little dot over the I?
Yeah.
That is an ancient symbol from Africa. There's 67 symbols that was developed 1,000 years ago.
Okay.
And it's out of the region of Mali and Ghana. And each one means a certain thing.
Okay.
I'm giving an award to a very deserving young woman in Richmond in, I guess, May. Rita McClendon. You know Rita McClendon? She was the head of tourism.
Okay.
She started under Mark Warner when he was governor.
Okay.
And she has been so helpful to my organization, Legacy Media Institute. She would always give me enough funds to take students from Norfolk State, students from Virginia State to Europe.
Right.
And I would always take 2 when I would go over and work with the African group. And that's been going on for 15 years. Some of these people now have their own studios.
Wow.
Some of these people are turning out movies. Disney just hired the first African to direct not 1, but 2 movies.
Wow.
And there's a series on, if you haven't seen it, on Netflix called Supercell. and going into got picked up for its second season. One of the most successful series. The young lady was part of our group. The gentleman who works with me, part of our group.
That's great.
And she gave me not a lot of much. She gave me enough in order to get those students to go, so I could give them scholarships and bring over students from Africa.
So what does the symbol mean?
Symbol is support.
Okay.
And so I chose that symbol instead of the eye, so that the symbolism of what it's on my hat and what's on hoodies and all that stuff is to get the thinking back in some structural order.
Okay.
I'm not against AI. It's just artificial. I don't need artificial right now. You give somebody an artificial egg and they'll throw it back at you. They need an egg.
Yeah. Right, they want a real egg.
If you're going to pay $9, you want an egg.
You want an egg. Exactly.
So this almost meat and all that stuff, no.
See, I eat some of that stuff. It's okay.
See what you just said? Okay.
It is okay.
At this point in life, we only go around one time.
That's
okay
right.
ain't cutting it.
Okay, well, look, if I can look like you at 80, then I will eat whatever you're eating.
Yeah. So
Let's bring it around to the one-man show.
The one-man show grew out of my daughter,
Tori.
just terrifying me for the last few years. Dad, because she was, and of course my son, they were there in the early parts of my career. And she born 71 when I just started in show business in Chicago. And she said, Dad, she's been there. They were in the room when things either went bad or went good. And so they said, you need, because they know it's not just me doing stuff. It's grace. And I find myself in these situations, as I said, my book is really going to be like a Forrest Gump, a Black Forrest Gump. Because I find myself with presidents. I find myself in countries in South America, Brazil, all these places involved with incidents. I mean, I got involved with all kinds of things.
Like what? Don't give it all away, but just tell us a little taste.
Well, when I met the Moshiach, I can never pronounce Moshiach from Afghanistan. It was a movie made about it. I wasn't in the movie.
Okay.
But the event in the movie, I was backstage.
What?
Yeah. And when the movie called Charlie's War,
I think
and
so.
the movie ends with Tom Hanks and the other, I can't think of her name now, at an event. And the event was to raise money. Russia had just done some horrible things. They were making toys, bombs in the shapes of toys, and they were literally blowing the limbs off of children throughout Afghanistan. So this group, which is now considered a terrorist group, this group came up to fight that, and they came to America and as a fundraiser. And the character in the movie, a senator from Texas, I believe, was trying to raise money for him. And this big event they had in Washington is shown in the movie. Well, backstage, it was myself and Lauren Green and our spouse had just been flown in from California on a G4 jet. The day before, I was called. This was during the Reagan administration, to join Lauren Green. I didn't know who it was till I got on the plane. And they flew us in, landed, the car picked us up at the tarmac, put us in, went underground. It's the first time I've been underground the mall. I mean, there's streets down there. There's a whole community under there. And we went in there, came up out of a building, onto a building, went in a room. They showed us a video, a horrible video, that certainly will incite you to give to go against what Russia was doing. And in came about 7 members, including the head of this Afghan rebel force, and said hello. We shook hands, and we were to introduce the video.
Oh, wow.
So they said, all right, let's go. I went out, introduced, then Lauren Green made a statement. We finished, everybody applauded. We go back behind the curtains. They put us in, some people meet us, they take us back, put us underground, put us in a limousine, and flew us back to California.
Wow.
I don't think the whole thing took more than 30 minutes inside the building. And I forgot about it. So I'm watching the movie, Charlie's War, and I'm going, that's the event.
Oh, my gosh.
That night. That's been my life.
Wow. That's incredible.
To meet William Paley, the founder of television. I'm the only black guy who's ever been invited. He, of course, passed away many years ago, but I was the only black guy that ever been invited to his office. It shook the CBS group. The president of the company had never been up to his office.
Oh, my goodness.
And there's a movie, Good Night, Good Luck, that George Clooney did. In the movie, Franklin Nigella plays William Paley. And there's a scene where he's invited up to his office.
Oh, wow.
Well, that scene I relived. And so when I find myself in situations in foreign countries, as I said, in being arrested, literally escaping South Africa in '80. And I go, how did I get here? This wasn't something I wanted. And I've been in a dangerous situation. I'm a cancer survivor. All these things that have just happened to me, instead of deterring me or making me slow down, has incited in me a love for living.
Yeah.
I hate to say this to everybody, but guys, this is not a rehearsal.
It's the real thing.
This is it, and it's over.
Right, and it's done.
It's
and
done.
It can be like that.
It's over. If you don't live it, what's the point?
On that point, I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody. What is the secret to life? Is that the secret to life, or do you have another secret?
Two things. I think I'll give you a secret to what I consider living, and then I'll give you the secret to aging that I believe. The secret to living is literally to keep moving. You become stationary and you begin to take on things.
Right.
You know, if you stay in the ocean, you got little things growing on you, and after a while it weights you down. You can't move, and so I just keep moving. I keep going. I keep looking at life as an adventure, and I dream. Till this day, I probably you can ask both my wives, but my current wife, Daphne, if she in the morning when I wake up, rarely do I not look at her and go, I got an idea. And she goes, oh, damn.
I just wanted 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. Give it to somebody else. So I've always been an avid dreamer. And not everything works, believe me. The studio didn't work the way I wanted it to work. I'm not a billionaire. Tyler is, and he used to hang out at my studio. So they don't all work, but they all keep me moving. You know, and to me, to living and aging, the best advice I have came from a ball player, Yogi Bear. He says, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Now, that's like quantum
Right.
philosophy.
Like, which one do you take?
It doesn't matter.
Take one of them.
You're going to learn from either.
Ah.
Whether it's successful, you'll learn the lesson of that and enjoy. If it's a failure, you'll learn from your lessons and not repeat it in the next cycle. And
That's
if you don't
great.
learn, you keep coming to that same fork. So take it. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
The end game is what matters. How do you feel when you're older? And Clint Eastwood told me, one time I ever had dinner with Clint Eastwood through a mutual friend. Someone came up to Clint. I think he was 85 or 86, not like 94, but he said, Clint, you just directed a movie. You're 80-some years old. He said, yeah. He said, how? How do you keep doing this? And the guy who was talking to him was younger than he was,
Right.
but you could see age had taken him down, got his body bent and all that kind of stuff. And Clint said, it's real simple. Never let the old man in. And that goes for women. Never let the old woman in.
Get out.
Don't just keep it out from you.
Yeah.
Don't, you find yourself, your body wants to rest.
Right, it does.
Your body don't want to go with you.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
my body, like, you getting on the plane again. How many hours have I got to deal with you?
Yeah.
They didn't want that.
Okay.
Just-
I'm going to take that to heart.
Don't let the old woman in. Don't, because she wants to get in. The mind wants to be still.
Yeah. Yeah.
The mind doesn't want to be doing it. It's enjoying itself. It tells you what to do, you do it. They don't really have a purpose.
Right. Right.
It's to be comfortable.
Yeah.
The spirit and the soul tells you, you can jump that.
That's great.
You can run fast. You can paint. I'll end with this story that I learned again at Norfolk State about art and artists. Van Gogh was not a great artist. If you look at there's a museum in Amsterdam, the Van Gogh Museum. You have the original that he copied. He copied painting. And the most successful painting that ever been sold in the history of the world was of his carnation. Goya did the original. Beautiful. Nobody bought that kind of right. Van Gogh. His pictures, and when you walk through the museum, you see the difference. You go, wow, why Van Gogh?
Right.
Why? Nobody had the passion he had for painting.
And you could see it in the painting.
You could see it in the painting.
Wow.
And matter of fact, he's one of the few, if not the only, artist of renown who has his own museum in the world. You know, Rembrandt doesn't have a museum. He has his paintings in museums.
Right, but not his own.
Van Gogh.
So many nuggets. Ooh, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to your one-man show. I will be front and center. And that comes August 18th. I'm looking forward to
August
it so
18th.
much. And thank you so much for joining us today on Virginia Insider. I'm April Woodard. This was Tim Reid. And we'll see you next time.